right. Here we go, team. I believe. Oh, I did something wrong. There we are. Good. I believe we are live. Let me double check here what's going on. Yes, we are definitely live. Okay, cool. Welcome. Happy Thursday, guys. Hope you're all rocking and rolling. The week is coming to an end. Tomorrow's Friday. Depending where you live, that might not mean much. I live here in Los Angeles, and there's not a whole lot to do these days, although they did open up restaurants to seat outside, so that's something. But for the most part, there ain't a whole lot we can do as far as things to do on the weekend. Okay, guys, so what we're going to talk about today, we got 3 diet mistakes that you're probably making, okay? And this is going to be less about food choices. You eat vegetables versus candy bars. You guys all know that. I don't need to tell you that you need to eat vegetables versus candy bars. This is more what you're gonna run into when you decide to go on your journey of you're losing weight and becoming the best version of yourself. You will inevitably hit roadblocks. You will hit plateaus, and you need to face those facts. And you need to take 100% responsibility for the fact that if you are not where you want to be, it is because of some issue or area in your life that is still unclear or that you haven't resolved yet, meaning like the level of awareness, the level of participation, the level of accuracy, which we're going to get into here in a second. So let's go ahead and dig in, all right? Number 1. There we go. Aha, there, got it. Okay, so the first mistake that I see all too often is people quit or they change the damn plan too soon. It takes time. And if you don't have measurables and you don't have data over an extended period of time, and you're only basing your decisions off of feelings, you will shoot yourself in the foot time and time and time again. All right? So this graph illustrates what is going on in your body and why you need more time than you think you do to achieve a certain result. Okay? For example, you decide to get on a diet, you will land on a certain calorie number, you've planned your food. The first week, guess what? You lose like 5 pounds, and you're like, yes, this is working. Finally, I figured it out. And then by week 3, you're completely plateaued again, right? What's going on? Why are you plateaued? And then in your mind, you're thinking like, oh, it's not working. Better quit, or try the next best thing. And you just keep getting in these. You keep diet hopping, and you keep getting this cycle of yo-yoing. So here's what's really going on in that instance. Okay, so this blue line here, this big wavy blue line, represents water fluctuation potentially within a week's period of time, right? So in a 1 week period of time, we could potentially fluctuate 5% of our body weight in water, right? So if you're 200 pounds, you could potentially fluctuate 5 pounds very easily, right? Or 10 pounds, very easily per week. I've seen it happen. I've seen people fluctuate 10 pounds in a matter of days that aren't even 200 pounds. So water weight retention is what happens when your body gets stressed out. You're exposed to too much sun. You get a really shitty night's sleep. You're really stressed out at work. You had a really, really hard workout. You ate something that didn't agree with you. You have some sort of allergy to a food. That water retention is going to show up on the scale and could shoot the scale up, right? This is where people get all in their head. They get all messed up because they're looking at their scale, which you should be. You should be measuring your weight. But then they want to make decisions based off their long-term trajectory from day-to-day fluctuations in weight, which is a big no-no. We're looking at trends, not any one day. Okay. So, anyways, back to the graph. This blue line represents water weight fluctuation within a 1 week period of time, which could potentially go 5% one way or the other of your body weight, right? So this black line represents time, And this is going to be a 6-week horizon, which is usually about as long as most people give a diet. Hence why most people diet about 5 times a year, because they give it a whirl for 4 or 6 weeks and they go, forget it, it's not working. And they quit and they're looking for the next best thing, right? So this time horizon is 6 weeks. This blue line represents water fluctuation in any given one of those weeks. But here's the kicker. This little yellow squiggly line represents fat loss. Now, assuming you are in a caloric deficit, so we're excuse me, accounting for all variables, right? Assuming that you're eating the right thing, you're on a diet, you're actually following a plan, that you're in a caloric deficit, you're getting some level of activity every day through walking or exercise or what have you. Assuming all that, you are burning fat, okay? Newsflash, you are burning fat. You do not defy physics. If you are in a caloric deficit, your body has to find that energy from somewhere. And if you are carrying excess body fat, it will get into those body fat stores, okay? So this squiggly line represents fat loss, assuming you're in a deficit, okay? But here's where it gets tricky, because this blue line, when you weigh yourself in every week, could be up, it could be down, it could be up, it could be down, and your weight on the scale is going up 5-10 pounds, and then down. You're like, what's going on? It's not working. I'm not losing any fat. But you are losing fat. You just don't see it yet. It's just not being represented on the scale yet. You have to give it time. And what I'm seeing is about 6 weeks. It can take 6 freaking hard, long, drawn out, painful, frustrating weeks before you start to see the scale actually drop consistently. By week 6, you may have already lost 6 to 8 pounds of body fat, but you've been fluctuating 5 to 10 each week with water weight because there's other things in your life that haven't been stabilized yet, like your sleep, like your hydration, like your activity level, like your ingredients that you're eating that may or may not disagree with you. So the more consistent you get with that, then the more consistent your scale weight on a day-to-day basis will be. But rest assured, from a pure caloric standpoint, if you're in a deficit, you're burning fat. You just got to give it time. You just got to give it time, right? But most people jump ship 2-4 weeks in because they don't see that instant gratification, that instant result. Now, the irony, of course, is they end up spending 10 years diet hopping and jumping from one thing to the other and yo-yoing because they just don't give it enough time to really hone in. So that's mistake number 1, guys. Don't quit too soon. Understand that water weight, any spike in the scale is not body fat, that's water weight. You got to give it 4 to 6 weeks to really see, to make an accurate prediction of whether or not that diet is working. And of course, if you're in a caloric deficit, it is working. You're just not sticking in it long enough, right? So that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, unintentional underreporting. Big deal. Big deal. Some examples of how one could fall into the trap of unintentionally underreporting. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Like, that means, let's assume that you are logging your food in some sort of calorie tracker, which in the very beginning stages you should be, right? You're logging your food, but you're not really keeping 100% track. Like, maybe you're making dinner one night and a potato falls off the plate and you just pick it up and pop it in your mouth before you put it on the food scale. That would be an example of not reporting. You're not really adding that in. Or, maybe you're trying to limit your alcohol intake and you're pouring a glass of wine and you're just kind of eyeballing, it's just 1 glass or just 2 glasses, but the glass is like that tall, it's a third of a bottle, but you're entering it in your calorie tracker as just 1 glass. Another example would be measuring things by the tablespoon versus the gram or the ounce. So like, let's say you add in your meal tracker that you had 1 tablespoon of almond butter, but the tablespoon was like this heaping mound of almond butter, which is probably more like 3 tablespoons of almond butter. So quick, easy way to get your measuring and your reporting more accurate so you can really decide if this diet is working, because it is, or either it is, and if it isn't, it's because you're unintentionally underreporting how many calories you're actually consuming. So maybe this should have been number one, is get accurate first. But assuming you are in a caloric deficit, we already talked about that. But this one here, simply switching to the gram or the ounce. I prefer grams because it's just a little bit more accurate, a little bit more specific. But ounces work too, right? So you have to switching from measuring things by the cup or the tablespoon, just going to the grams. So don't measure 1 tablespoon of almond butter. Measure, 16 grams or however much a tablespoon is, right? You might be surprised by how little 16 grams of almond butter really is when you thought it was a tablespoon. Big thing. So that'll be a huge thing. Snagging bites, like I mentioned. Whoops. Where are we going here? I messed up. There we go. Snagging bites. So you're cooking or you're just picking things off the plate and you're not accounting for it because you think, no big deal. What's a little bite here? Well, I'm here to tell you that it matters, right? Like 50 calories. Let's think about it this way, okay? Let's do the quick back of the napkin math here, right? 100 calories. Anyone would be like, oh my God, it was only 100 calories. No big deal, right? 100 calories times 365 days is 36,000 calories. Do you know how many calories are in a pound of fat? 3,500. So that extra 100 calories that you're snagging or snipping on here and there could potentially equal 10 pounds of fat over the course of a year if you just times it out by how many calories are in a pound of fat, right? So just thinking about it that way, where it's like shifting your mindset to realizing like everything matters, right? Like you can't get stuck in the rhythm of thinking that like no big deal, it doesn't matter, especially if you're still struggling with your weight loss, right? Like if you're still struggling to lose weight and you're still holding on to that 20, 30, 40, 50 or more pounds and you haven't been able to figure it out yet, then it's time you get real and you get accurate with your measurements and understand that your belief system that has got you here needs to change around what you view as important or not, because the numbers don't lie. Results don't lie. You know what I mean? And so if you haven't gotten the results that you wanted, there's something missing, and it's usually one of these things here, okay? So bottom line, guys, is accuracy determines results. Everyone goes, consistency determines results. And consistency is important as long as you're accurate. But if you're consistently inaccurate, then you're just never going to get to where you want to be. So number one, guys, you're motivated, you're ready to commit, you got to get accurate. Like you have to start weighing your stuff. You have to know how much you're consuming so that way you can make informed decisions on how you want to adjust the plan if need be, right? But if you're wildly all over the place because you're measuring heaps of tablespoons, or you're eyeballing your food, or you're not including alcohol in your meal plan, or you're saying you had a glass of wine and really you had like a third of a bottle, if you're still in that world, you're gonna have a really, really hard time dialing it in and getting that last stretch of weight loss that tends to be the most difficult, right? So you really have to examine that, okay? So that was number 2, guys. Unintentional underreporting. Get accurate. Get specific. Be brutally honest with yourself. Not forever, but for a time. Maybe a month. Maybe 6 months. Long enough to where we can get you to where you want to be and keep you there long enough because we have enough data to make really, really good decisions and see really good patterns and trends on why you're stuck and what needs to be done about it, all right? So get accurate. All right, and then lastly, guys, number three. This used to be me. I used to be this guy that I would think that I'm really good during the week, and so therefore I want to let loose. I want to have fun on the weekends. And in my mind, that was balance, right? Like if I'm eating my salads and I'm counting on my calories, like who cares if 2 days a week I'm off, right? But the truth was that I was actually never as fit as I really wanted to be, or that I knew I could be, I drank a lot in my 20s. I went out almost every weekend hard for more than 10 years, and because I was so active, because my job wasn't that demanding, just being a personal trainer, seeing a few clients a day here and there, it allowed me more time for exercise. And when you're in your 20s, which you all can relate to, that when you're in your 20s, that you have the luxury of time and your body is a little bit more forgiving. But now I'm 36 years old, and the reality is that work is tough, it's stressful, and I don't have that time anymore. So I couldn't rely on exercise to compensate for my shitty weekend behavior. And so this was a big eye opener for me when I actually started tracking everything that I consumed over the weekend. And I didn't try to modify what I ate, I just simply tracked what I ate. And I just simply measured it all, added it all into a calorie tracker, and I would be easily throwing back 4 to 5,000 calories. Think about it. You have 4 or 5 drinks, right? That's 700 calories right there. You can go out for a brunch. Maybe you have like eggs Benedict, or you have an omelet with potatoes and a latte. That's 1,000 calories, more 1,500 calories. You're ordering takeout for dinner, pizza or burger. I mean, you can easily smash 3 to 4,000, or if you're a big guy like me, 5,000 calories in a day through like fats and simple carbs, because it just goes right through you. You're having drinks. It's very, very easy to do. I was doing it, and the only reason I ever maintained any level of fitness was just because of how much I was exercising at that time. But now, like I said, I don't have that luxury of that time anymore. And so I had to get real on my weekends in order for me to get my body and to keep my body where I wanted it to be. So, challenge yourself, guys. Challenge your belief systems around what your idea of balance is, right? Because truly, balance is you taking control of your health and fitness. Not to say you can't have drinks. I still have drinks. I like to have a couple glasses of wine on the weekend as much as the next guy. You just gotta know. You just gotta know what you're consuming. You have to plan it and make room for it, right? So for example, a glass of wine, and we're not talking an eyeball and a pour here, it's a simple glass of wine, 5 ounces. It's 32 grams of carbohydrates. How many should you be eating in a day? 100, 150, 200 if you're super active. So if you're going to get a third of those from one glass of wine, what if you have 2 glasses of wine, right? And then you're still eating all your carbs. You see how this gets out of hand real quick. A beer is somewhere in the range of 150 to 300 calories. So let's just say 2 on average, right? Throw down a few beers, 600, 700, 800 calories, boom, in an hour. And you have the whole other 15 hours of your waking day to consume other calories. So you can see how quickly we can go over. Maybe you're more of a bourbon guy. You're like, I don't like all those fluids in my system. I like whiskey or vodka. Well, I hate to break it to you, but a pour of bourbon actually has as many carbohydrates as a glass of wine does, right? So it's just understanding this stuff. It's getting real. Not saying you can't do it. If you want to have some drinks on the weekend, have some freaking drinks on the weekend. Just do it in a responsible way where you've already budgeted for those calories and you've entered it all in and you honor your caloric ceiling, because binging on the weekends will keep you stuck forever, right? You will be in the rat race forever. I cannot tell you how many clients that are crushing it. And they're working their tail off Monday through, let's just say Sunday through Thursday. They're working their tail off, counting every calorie. They're hitting their workouts. They're just doing so good. And then the weekends, we just can't reel it in yet. And sure enough, Monday morning, so they worked their butt off Sunday through Thursday, burned off 2-3 pounds. They were killing it, and then over the weekend, bam, they're back up 3 pounds, and they burn it off again over the week, and then they, boom, gain it back by Monday. And it's just in this cycle of insanity, this Monday loop that they just can't break, and it's because the freaking weekends, man. And they're like, well, I want to have balance, I want to, and it's like, but that's not balance. That's driving you insane. That's not making you happy, because it's making you frustrated because you can't get to your goal, right? And so that's why this is so important. It's why just knowing what you're doing, being intentional, creating space between stimulus and response. Create that space. Don't just be reactive and just be like, I just want to let loose, let my hair down, because that's the self-destructive behavior that's going to keep you stuck, yo-yoing forever. But insert awareness. insert awareness, right? Before you eat that thing, before you want to just splurge and order takeout or just binge, just stop for a second. Give yourself 60 seconds to just think through, what do I really want? I really want to be healthy. I really want to feel good. I want to look good. I want to be a good role model for my kids. I want to be sexy so the opposite sex finds me attractive. Like I want to find a partner, and I don't feel confident to get out and mingle right now because of where my weight is. But then we have to pull it back of like, well, what are the choices that are causing this to happen? And for a lot of people, it is just not wanting to face the reality that the weekends freaking matter, right? And they will constantly be that thorn in your side until you shine that light of awareness on them, okay? So there we go, guys. One of my favorite quotes that I live by here that I hope you guys can adopt for your own as well. This is by Peter Drucker from the Drucker School of Business, but it applies to everything in life. And it's what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets improved, right? So the first step is we got to measure it. Got to measure your weight, got to measure your food, got to measure your exercise and your activity levels, right? You start measuring that, then you can start to manage it, right? Like, okay, where am I at? Let's assess. Let's get a baseline. And then from there you can start to make improvements. But it all boils down to you got to track it. You got to measure. It's not complicated. There's a ton of stuff out there to help you, but that's it. Another thing that I've realized, and I'm going to leave you guys with this, is that one of the things about growing as an adult is a constant series of belief breaking, right? To grow as an adult, we have to constantly be breaking our belief systems around what should be, what is normal, what is right. Because I'll tell you, I talk to people in Kansas and Texas and Oklahoma and Wisconsin and Michigan and New York and California and Washington, and every little subculture has their own little belief systems around what's normal or not, okay? So what that shows you is that there is no normal. It's just what you have been conditioned to believe is normal. Listen, we all come into this adulthood with a bunch of messed up beliefs that our parents gave us, that our school teachers gave us, that our little community that we grew up in implanted in us. And they're probably not right. They're probably wrong. They're probably inaccurate belief systems that we hold on to that keep us stuck. And it's like being tied to something. And if we want to evolve and grow and become this version of ourselves that we know we can be, we have to cut those ties, break those belief systems that keep us stuck. Belief systems being around food, being around weekends, being around, always taking care of everybody else except you. Always, well, I don't feel hungry right now, so I'm not going to eat, even though that's going to come back to bite you in the butt tonight when you're binging because you didn't take care of it when you should have, right? It's like, challenge yourself, catch yourself if you're stuck in this narrative that you've been repeating for a long, long time, and also it just so happens that you're not where you want to be. Well, it might be time to let go of the narratives and the things that are no longer serving you, so that way you can become the person that you might be, right? So break your belief systems, create a new normal for yourself, right? Create your normal around the person that you want to become. All right, guys? Thank you guys all for tuning in. That is it for the Thursday night presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and drop a comment. Let me know that you like this. Give it a like. Let me know what you guys want to hear more of. I really enjoyed doing this stuff. So